Certainly innate talent is great, but I don't know any major artist of our era who hasn't worked incredibly hard and doesn't have a sort of, I mean, an original way of seeing the world, an original way of trying to express that is something to be valued, but in some ways it's overrated, because if you obsess about and analyse perceived originality, you start to understand it's not quite as original as you think. And I think the best artists don't get carried away with the myth of their own originality. They explore the compulsion that they have to do what they do and say what they want to say and express what they want to express in ways they want to express it. And then they get on and try and find the best ways of doing that. I've said that I don't think anyone should expect the luxury or the freedom to work without having to support themselves. But I've also said that if you work to simply to make a living or to be noticed, that eventually you get found out. So it goes back to that old adage about make what you feel compelled to make, and then try and think cleverly about how you might be able to sell that. That's where a gallery comes in. It has to have an integrity though before it can sell. I really enjoyed devising a strand for television that no one else was doing at the time, which involved me walking through an exhibition. We started doing it with Picasso, Matisse, and then we made, I think, 60 or 70 of these eventually, where it was whichever institution put on a show, I would look at it and then try and create a route through it where it was letting the viewer have as direct an engagement with the works of art as possible. And it's interesting how more of that is done now, and that's great. Let the artwork speak, don't just always let a director mediate, with jump cuts and so on as to how you see a work of art. But I think the things that give me most pleasure are working with artists, and I can't really take much credit for it, but I loved the first show that White Cube ever did with Doris Salcedo, which was at Hoxton Square. Well, sorry, they had actually worked with her in White Cube, Duke Street, but the first show they did solo show in the gallery at Hoxton Square was called Neither, and it involved, there were nearly 100 panels they had to all be made. They looked like a wire mesh fence had been embedded into the wall, but they were panels that had been handcrafted and sharpened and put together. It took nearly 3 weeks, which is a massive amount of installation time in the commercial art world. And it was one of the most powerful installations. And it looked effortless, and yet it was so intense. And it was such a resonant piece. I mean, about loss and imprisonment, and very specific to her experience in Colombia, but at university it resonated. And actually now, I saw it recently, it was acquired by a Brazilian collector called Bernardo Paz, who has this extraordinary conglomeration of buildings and artworks in the edge of the rainforest up in Belo Horizonte, in a place called Inhotim. And it's there, and it's like walking back into Hoxton, but at the same time it's like stepping into this other world that the best art can transform or turn into. And I love that. That's always one of the projects I cite. She's a great artist, Doris Salcedo.